Okay, we welcome to talkSPORT's Radio Row spot at the Super Bowl here in New Orleans. Former Vikings, former Giants, former Bucks, tight end Kyle Rudolph. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, all good. I mean, let's get straight to it. Let's talk Vikings. An impressive season for the Vikings, disappointing ending. You know, what do you put that down to?
You know, I think as Vikings fans, if you were to say 14-3, playoff berth, you would have taken that before this year with, you know, kind of the turnover at the quarterback position, the uncertainty. Yes, you signed Sam Darnold to a one-year deal. I don't think there was really a ton of expectations there for the team. And then throughout the course of the year, the excitement starts to build. The expectations start to change. Unfortunate that you win 14 games, then you got to go on the road as a wild card team. Most of the time you win 14 games, you're not even playing in wild card round weekend. You're watching
it's crazy,
at
really,
home.
when you think about it, isn't it?
It is, and I think, you know, unfortunately, when you look at the last regular season game at Detroit, the playoff game, you know, it's tough. You play so many games throughout the course of the year. Winning 14 games is really hard in the NFL, and they were so good at winning close games. Really, Kevin O'Connell's been that way throughout the course of his whole tenure as the head coach there. But it's kind of all for naught if you don't go win in January. And, you know, I have all the faith in the world as Kevin as a leader. He's done such a great job with that team, with the organization. Excited that they got his contract all worked out, and he's going to be there for the foreseeable future. But interesting times now. Talking about the quarterback position and Sam, it'll be really interesting what they're able to figure out. Obviously, we play in a world in which the salary cap is, you know,
It's king, isn't it?
It's king. You got to figure out how to build a roster, and I think that's one of the things that they've done such a good job of is, you know, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, drafting talented players, signing free agents that fit what they want to do on offense and defense. And, you know, ultimately it's hard to just blow all that up with a massive quarterback contract. So it'll be interesting how things play out. And then obviously you have, you know, J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback that you took in the top 10, kind of just waiting in the wings.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you're a Vikings fan and you had let's say J.J. McCarthy was starting this year, you had that season, you'd be feeling positive about it, right? But there's so many questions now because of the quarterback position, because of the fact that, you know, it's the most important position in football, because Sam Darnold played maybe more impressively than a lot of people may have thought.
For sure. Let's be honest, more impressively than anyone thought.
There we go. You said it.
I mean,
you said it.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's I don't think anyone outside, and rightfully so, like, you know, to put up the numbers that he put up, to win 14 games, like, that's hard for anyone to do.
But those last couple games are, unfortunately, it's just how it works, are what stays. Exactly. It's what stays in people's minds.
Yeah.
How much do you think that's going to affect what he does this summer and maybe his potential future with the Vikings?
At the end of the day, ultimately, yes. If they would have had a deep playoff run and Sam would have played well throughout the course of the playoffs, you know, who knows? You get to free agency, and there's such a demand on quarterbacks. It's not a great draft for quarterbacks. So if you're one of those teams sitting in the top 10 and you need a quarterback, you know, it only takes two. If you have two teams that need a quarterback, the price just magically goes up.
Do you think there are particular teams, you know, in the top 10 of the draft or otherwise, that should be looking at Sam Darnold right now?
100%. 100%. I think you see it. Like, if you take a quarterback in the top 10 and he's not your guy, you can't afford to miss. Now, with that being said, the flexibility that it gives you hitting on a quarterback in the draft and having a quarterback on a rookie contract, what that allows you to do with the rest of the money, can set you up to be, you know, kind of stacked on a roster standpoint. But, you know, at the end of the day, there's so much talent outside of the quarterback position in this draft that if you have the chance to go get a guy like Sam Darnold, that's why I think it's going to be really hard for the Vikings. Yeah. Ultimately, if they're working towards a long-term contract and they're close before free agency, I could see the franchise tag being used, just because that buys you the year. It keeps Sam away from hitting the open market and ultimately getting into a bidding war with someone else. You can use the franchise tag, then ultimately that can buy you the time to try to negotiate if you decide Sam's the guy that you want to move forward with.
Week 1, 2025 NFL season, who's starting as quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings?
We'll say A, Sam Darnold, B, J.J. McCarthy, C, other.
Okay.
I'm going to take the long shot. I'm going to go C, other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm interested to see, J.J. didn't have a traditional rookie year. He didn't play in any games. He played in the preseason game, got hurt. And then ultimately what happens is he's not in meetings every day. He's not on the practice field every day. There's so many reps that he missed out on through the course of the year that if Sam was the quarterback and that he had, you talked about the confidence going into next year with that guy. Well, now, again, JJ's kind of going into his rookie year again, coming off of a major knee surgery. So I just think that Sam Darnold will hit the open market. I think there's going to be multiple suitors for his services. He will get too expensive for the Minnesota Vikings. They will ultimately have to then assess, maybe another quarterback that's looking to do the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. I need to revive my career. Kevin O'Connell's pretty good at this. That roster is loaded. You thinking
Daniel Jones?
I didn't say it. You did.
Okay, speaking of good quarterbacks, this is the benefit of having a good producer. Shout out producer Will Viney over there. He texted me a bit earlier saying Rudolph's 50th touchdown reception happened to be Tom Brady's final regular season touchdown pass. I mean, first of all, that's a great stat.
Yeah.
Second of all, what have you made as Tom Brady's rookie season as a broadcaster?
I think it shocked me because Tom is one of those guys that's just good at everything. It's like the guy that you love to hate. You're like, man, this dude's good looking. He's the greatest quarterback that ever played the game. He's a good golfer. He's a great dude. He's nice to everyone. But he also, you could tell he was nervous. I think having called games myself, when you're a guy like Tom that has so much knowledge of the game, that has so many good stories to tell, so many things that fans are just dying to hear, but you only have such a small amount of time to get it all in. And for me personally, when I was preparing for games, I felt like once the broadcast happened, I went back and I'm like, I had so much stuff that I prepared and I wanted to get into the broadcast, and you just don't have time. Yeah. So it's a skill that you have to learn. And I did think he got better as the year went on. You could tell he got more comfortable. The balance of analyzing football, but also telling the stories that we all want to hear. Everyone wants to hear Tom Brady's.
That's the anecdotes, isn't it? That's what you're there for with Tom Brady.
Yes.
There's no one like him. There's no one with a football mind like him. So.
No, and you think he was in NFL locker room for 23 years. The amount of football that he saw, the amount of players that he played with, the amount of stories that he has. I remember we'd be preparing for games, and Tom would be like, oh, yeah, this defensive coordinator, he'd have a full notebook on just the coordinator. And it's like, oh, he likes to do this, he likes to do that. It's like, so no one knows football better than Tom. But that doesn't mean that you can just get all that into the broadcast. It's hard. You got to find, kind of your time to interject with an anecdotal note or a story or something that's, analysis from a big third down play. So Tom will just continue to get better if he wants to keep doing it. Who knows? Obviously, as the owner of the Raiders, things could change, but Tom's great. Again, he's one of those guys that's just good at everything, and yet I still found myself, I love tuning in, listening to him, listening to his stories, listening to him analyze the game, just like he did when he was playing.
Kyle, thank you so much for joining us on talkSPORT today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.